Something very troubling happened yesterday. One of the Cherera 4 IEBC commissioners, Justus Nyangaya, resigned suddenly. Now, of course, this is a setback. For those who are following this very closely, and those who understand exactly what is happening here, this is a very major setback. And the question on the minds of most Kenyans is why? Why did he resign? Why didn't he just hold out for the sake of the country called Kenya? Now, you know, most people, most Kenyans are still asleep. They don't realize how serious this Cherera 4 Manenos is. They don't. They think it's just 4 commissioners who are being forced out. Kwani iko nini? It isn't that. If this deal goes through, and it looks like it's going through, Kenya kwisha maneno. That's really what it is. Remember, the big sin of these 4, bila kizungu mingi, is that they try to stop the fiddling of the 2022 presidential elections. Hakuna kitu ingine. That is all they did. Now, just make a judgment for yourself. This thing they did, which now they are being told was violating the Constitution, which they are being told was misbehaving, was it for the good of the country, or was it for their selfish ends? Just answer that question, and you'll understand how serious this thing is. Indeed, it is like the former IEBC computer guru, Chris Msando, being forced out of the IEBC. Well, he wasn't a commissioner, so I guess it's much easier to fire a guy. A national hero. Yeah. But you see the issue here. And I'm sure his family watching these developments, the family of the late Msando, are wishing that they had just removed the guy from the IEBC instead of ending his life. Clearly, working at the IEBC, being a commissioner at the IEBC, is a very deadly occupation in the country called Kenya. Very deadly. Because you're the custodian. Yeah, that's how important it is. Because you're the custodian of free and fair elections in Kenya. On behalf of the Kenyan people. The Kenyan people look up to you and always hope that you do the right thing. But of course, history shows us that commissioners and workers at the IEBC, actually the vast majority, have chosen themselves and their selfish ends and the good of themselves over the good of the nation. And many have gone on to be promoted to big jobs. Many of them remain at the IEBC because they're towing the line of whoever is in power, or whichever powers have come over the IEBC. Because we know last August, some very strange powers, yet to be identified, took hold of the IEBC. And Chairman Wafula Chebukati locked himself into his office and did his own things, and then would come out of the office and call a commissioner, even those amongst the Cherera 4, and tell them, please announce these results. And the commissioner would go up there and announce to the media, without knowing that evidence is being collected in advance, so that when this thing reaches the Supreme Court, people will be able to say, these people were with Chebukati. They were working together very nicely. That's why they came out and announced the results. And they only disputed when the winner was not the person they expected. That was the narrative. You know, one of the reasons why this Nyangaya resignation is so disturbing is that this man was the country director of Amnesty International for over 8 years. Yeah, now Amnesty International has a reputation. It is respected as a fighter for human rights across the globe. One would have expected maybe one of the other 4 commissioners would have given in to pressure. Maybe one of the women. But surprise, surprise, shock of all shocks, it was Justus Nyangaya, a man who admires the late Tom Mboya, a gallant Kenyan, a man who admires Nelson Mandela, yeah, a great African, a man who loves to promote African dressing, yeah, a patriotic man. One would have expected Bwana Justus Nyangaya to be the last man standing. But that is not what has happened. And one of the reasons why all this is very disturbing is that people are asking themselves, what has triggered this? What has caused the man to break? You know, when the early Christians were being persecuted, yeah, shortly after the resurrection of Christ, yeah, the early church, there are many who were very brave at the beginning. They knew the consequences, yeah, of not towing the line. And of course, towing the line was renouncing their faith. They knew they could be torn to shreds by a lion, a hungry lion, in an arena full of people. They knew that it was very possible that they would be burnt at the stake. They knew all these things. But they spoke boldly. And they said, Mimi niko gangari. But something interesting happened. Some of the strongest, when they saw the lion and they knew the moment has come, they buckled. Yeah, and in those days it was very easy to buckle. You just say, okay. You raise your hands and say, okay, nimekubali. I renounce my faith. Yeah? Kanu mama na baba. Tingiza. Something like that. Well, now it is Kenya Kwanza. Tingiza. Hustler. Towing the line. Now may I remind you that very recently there were rumors that the Cherera 4 had been approached with offers. We just want you to resign, you will get 1, 2, 3 in return. And this was before the current process to remove them had started. And it is not clear where these rumors came from. Yeah, but the rumors were there. And a journalist posed the question to one of the Cherera 4. And they said, no, that is not true. There's no such thing. Now, in my line of work, you never dismiss a rumor. Yeah, what you do is unaiweka kando to be proved correct or false. Or even if it is not correct, and even if it is not false, usually there is a story. There is a story where that rumor came from. Because that rumor came from somewhere. Yeah. It could have been propaganda from Azimio. That is possible. And if it was, there is a story there. Don't you think? Or maybe it didn't even come from Azimio. There is also a story there. Where did it come from? What was the objective of the person who spread the rumor? Or maybe a person saw something, saw a meeting between one of the Cherera 4 and somebody in government. Yeah, maybe they were discussing something else. The weather or the World Cup. There is also a story there. So you don't dismiss rumors. But now with this latest development, that rumor, which was at the bottom of my in tray, I have to retrieve it and start asking myself questions. Inawezekana hapa iko kitu? Of course, we shouldn't surprise anybody, because we all know that the objective of the government is to get this 4 out at all costs. Yeah? If they don't resign, find a way to get them out. Tena quickly. And of course, keen observers know exactly why. Indeed, this is a smoking gun. If anybody doubted that the presidential election results were fishy, here is your evidence. The Cherera 4. It is evidence staring at you. Because if there was nothing fishy, then why go after the Cherera 4? Why? What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to do? Simple questions. But I'm afraid the simple answers will never come. And the big worry now is, will other resignations follow? Is this how this issue is going to end up? Will there be no gallant Kenyans who love their country who will be left standing? What will happen? And most importantly, what will happen to the nation called Kenya? Very disturbing. Until next time, this is Chris. Kumekucha.